Hello, my friends. This is Rick here, and I have a bit of an update for the channel. So, I have been, other than just incredibly busy with a bunch of other projects and work and just trying to survive. Um, the update I have is that I have been also battling with sound quality issues, video quality issues, because I got a new camera and it doesn't record the way I want it to. And the microphone it came with is actually not even as good as the one I had been using. Actually, to be fair, the one I had been using apparently isn't even as good as my phone's basic microphone. So, I'm going to stick with that, and to save space on my hard drive and to try to, I guess, make this whole process a lot simpler, because I don't have to do a whole lot of setup when I just do a voice recording. I'm just going to stick with just the voice recordings. And if I get to a point where I can do better video quality and better sound quality, I may resume that. But for now, we're going to stick with just the voice. So far, just after doing a little bit of editing, I think it already sounds a lot better. So, I hope you still all decide to sit with me and listen as I read stories to you. And yeah, at some point, I think that's enough. But yeah, so thank you for your support and thank you for your understanding. You are all amazing, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Rick Reads. Today we'll be continuing with The Demon, Chapter 22. Dante! He turned at the sound of the scream, swearing under his breath. He had thought she was right behind him, but had stopped paying attention hours ago. Cursing her for a fool, Dante ran in the direction of her cry. He rushed through the trees, nimbly dodging them all in his haste. A stray branch ripped open his cheek, but the wound closed in seconds. Within moments, he was in a small clearing, where Erin sat huddled on her knees, face to face with the hellhound. Its shaggy black fur moved as if alive, resembling flames made of darkness and shadow. Fiery red eyes glared at Erin, its hackles raised and its teeth bared. It stood, its shoulders hunched, nearly a full foot taller than her cowering form, coming just under the level of Dante's chest. Its lupine snout curled into a vicious snarl, bearing knife-like fangs. A single bite would be enough to rip the frightened woman's head completely off of her shoulders. A single swipe from the beast's razor-sharp claws could disembowel a wild boar in the blink of an eye. Dante stood tall, making himself appear as big as possible, while keeping his hand on his sword. If his gamble failed, he would have to strike swiftly. Erin, hold perfectly still, Dante commanded. She was too terrified to move or speak, and the hellhound drank in her fear. The hellhound, upon hearing the demon speak, turned its head to glare at him. When its eyes met Dante's, the hellhound blinked. Its snarling visage softened, and the beast lowered its head, seemingly in deference. It backed away, tail lowered, and kept its head low, gaze on the ground. When it was a few yards away, Erin jumped up and ran behind Dante. "What'd you do to it?" Erin gasped. "Nothing," Dante replied evenly. "What's it doing?" she demanded. Dante shook his head, nearly as surprised as her. "I don't know. He just does that whenever he sees me." "You've seen it before?" Dante nodded, keeping his eyes on the beast. The hellhound seemed to bow its great head, then ran off into the forest. "It bowed?" Erin asked. Again, Dante nodded. "He does that. Not really sure why. Either way, let's get moving." "Don't wander off again or I'll let him eat you." Erin nodded her heartfelt agreement and followed Dante as he wended his way back to the original path. Victor watched, mesmerized by the sight of the beast in the mirror's image. A hellhound this close to his home? Why wasn't it attacking the town as the beasts had during the war? Was this the only one? More shocking, however, was the beast's reaction to seeing Dante. There is only one being in all existence that has that kind of power over a hellhound, he whispered. He drew his cloak over his shoulders and ran out of his room. Victor ran out of the city and away from the small farms. He had to be away from any prying eyes. Once he was in a small forested area north of the town. He knelt on the soft earth. He drew a rune in the soil and waited. Several minutes passed before a light gold glow enveloped the rune. A large portal opened, and Victor stepped through. He stepped onto the roof of a tall tower overlooking a green meadow covered in yellow flowers. Marble stones paved a path through the meadow, bordered by low rose bushes. Winged people lay in the sunlight, basking in the beauty of the sky. Some smelled the flowers, some playfully wrestled, while others simply walked and talked with each other. Nearby was a grand castle with shining walls of pure alabaster and gates of pearl. Victor took off a ring on his left hand and let his wings unfurl. He was home after so long, and took flight, heading to the castle. Angels watched him fly by, many of them waving happily to him, glad to see him return to heaven. He wanted to stop and chat with the people he had not seen in several decades, but Victor was driven by a greater purpose. He flew to the castle's main gates and landed, pushing through them to enter. Up a flight of marble stairs and through a large oaken door, Victor passed into the castle's main hall. He was greeted by 2 guards, gold armor resplendent in the warm glow of the sunlight. Their spear tips shone silver and gleamed with an inner light. "Hail, Victor," one guard greeted. "To what do we owe the honor of your visit?" "I must speak with my father," Victor replied. "I have questions I need answered right away." The guards looked at each other, concerned by the look of dread on their comrade's face. "We will take you to him immediately, then," the guard said. They turned and led Victor through the main hall and into the audience chamber of the castle. Through a pair of oak doors, the guards led Victor inside. Greeting Victor was a sight he was not prepared for. Standing before the throne, already in a meeting with the Lord of Angels, was Artemis, black armor standing in stark contrast to the gold and silver halls of the castle. A dark blue cape rested between his ebon wings. The feathers held a bluish hue in the light and dragged on the floor behind him like a long cloak. The silk blindfold wrinkled as Artemis smirked at Victor. No weapon could be seen on his person, but Victor remembered the swiftness with which the archangel could summon the soul blade. Sitting on the throne in the back of the grand hall was a giant being with 6 immense wings resting over his shoulders like a cloak. The great being's long white beard rested in his lap, and his hands curled over the edges of the throne's armrests. His glowing golden eyes seemed to pierce the very fabric of time and space. His silver robes glistened in the glorious light that was this angel's very presence. There sat Amun-Ra, Lord of Heaven, and Victor's father. Victor approached the throne in trepidation and fell to one knee, placing his hand over his heart and bowing his head. "I apologize for my intrusion, Father," he said. "I did not realize you were in council with someone." Amun-Ra tilted his great head in acceptance and said, in a voice that reverberated through Victor's skull like a church bell, "It is perfectly fine, my son. In fact, you have impeccable timing. I was just about to summon you here myself." Victor rose to his feet and glanced uneasily at Artemis. The archangel paid him little heed. "Then you know of why I came?" Victor asked. Ra shook his head. "No, my son, but your counsel is needed in a matter Lord Artemis and I are discussing. That can wait a moment, however. What is troubling you, Victor?" Victor took a deep breath and then said, "I was watching a demon near my home on Earth and—" "Dante," Artemis sneered. "He had the fog of death shrouding him last time we met." Victor looked at Artemis in amazement. What had Lord Death wanted with Dante? "I saw him encounter a hellhound a few moments ago." "Interesting," Ra muttered. "And what was the beast's reaction?" Victor searched for the right words. "Humility, Father. The beast was—" He trailed off, unsure of exactly what he had seen. And what are your suspicions, Victor? Ra inquired. Victor shrugged. Is he... No, Artemis interrupted again. As I told you, Uncle, he said to Ra, that demon is not ready. Ra nodded his head in agreement with the Archangel. So you have repeatedly been telling me, with no arguments from me. The Heavenly Council is the group that needs convincing. Artemis clenched his fists, knowing that the Council was a pack of useless angels stuck in their bureaucratic ways. Then I am correct in my suspicions? Victor asked. Ra nodded. You are, albeit only by a technicality. What are your thoughts on his readiness? I feel your endorsement could sway the Council's decision. Victor almost laughed. After his exhausting vigil over the demon, he was sure that Dante was not as much of a threat as it seemed. Although with this new information, Victor was less sure. Ready or not, Dante could pose a threat to our world if he learns the truth. If he learns what power could be his, I fear he would try to overthrow us all. Ra inclined his head, mulling over Victor's words. I hate to say it, but I agree with Victor, Artemis growled. Dante cannot know until he is ready. Ra nodded again and waved his hand. Then off to the council with you, Lord Artemis. Inform them of Victor's stance on the subject. Artemis bowed and turned to leave, tossing a contempt-filled sneer Victor's way before he left. Victor ignored it, turning back to his father. What would you have me do, Father? You will do nothing, Ra replied. Await a missive from me on the council's decision. I understand your wish for haste, but know that this could take some time. Until then, continue your good works on Earth. You are doing very well there. Victor bowed and left the castle, his spirits sinking. He had been ready to accept Dante as a respected member of the community he had become. Now, however, he felt that it would be prudent to kill the demon. His old grudge was gone, lifted by Dante's peaceful interactions with the townsfolk. But this new information left the angel feeling increasingly uneasy. Killing the demon would not be an act of personal aggression, but an act of mercy. Victor would see him dead in order to prevent another war. Even so, Victor felt torn. He had entertained the thought that he and Dante could have actually been neighbors, if not friends. The angel went back to the tower, his home in heaven, and climbed the stairs to the top. There he drew the same rune that brought him here and placed the ring back on his finger. His wings shrank away into nothingness and he stepped through the portal going back to Earth. Dante and Aaron exited the forest the evening, with Manhattan just a few miles away. About another hour and we'll be there, Dante mentioned, keeping a brisk pace. Aaron nodded, glad to be out of the forest and near home. Oh, Grandfather will be pleased to see you, she said. He's been asking you for weeks now. Then why did it take you so long to tell me? He thought he would... Well, we all thought he would pull through. This isn't the first time he's been sick. We realized it was as bad as it is when the doctors were unable to help him. They've given up and, well, helped us make Grandfather as comfortable as possible. Dante remained silent, letting his thoughts roam back to Stacy, back to where he was happiest. Using his thumb, he absently spun the ring he wore on his middle finger. It was warm to the touch, telling him Stacy still wore his ring's counterpart. The soft warmth of the ring pulsed like a heartbeat, mimicking Stacy's own heart. She was calm, whatever she was doing, therefore safe. Aaron watched him spinning the ring on his finger, figuring he was thinking of the woman back in Bethlehem. She felt a pang of jealousy, but kept it hidden. Who was she to think Dante could love her? She, who was so frightened by the beast in the forest, was but a child compared to the demon with whom she traveled. Then again, so was Stacy. What was so different about her? She was a teacher, a dancer, and a mortal. Though Aaron was also a mere mortal, she was a budding warrior, something that Dante had to respect. Why would someone so obviously at home in battle not love a fellow fighter? Sure, Aaron was nowhere near as experienced as he was when it came to swordplay, but she was at least as good as anyone else, perhaps better. Why couldn't he love her? You're pouting, Dante muttered, breaking Aaron's trance. Stop. Aaron glared at him, while he kept his gaze on the upcoming city. He had never turned from it, but had noticed she was overthinking something. Gerard had the same set to his shoulders when something was bothering him, he explained. Knowing you, it's probably something trivial. You don't know me, Aaron countered indignantly. Dante scoffed at her. You think that just because you've been around the world once, and you've seen more than most have, that you are somehow better than the rest of them. And now, you're bothered by being so impossibly outmatched by the hellhound that you're overanalyzing whatever it is you're thinking about. So stop. You survived. Be content with that. Aaron glared harder, staring daggers into the side of his face. How could he be so cold? Staring won't help either, Dante stated. Aaron sighed and focused on the city. She stowed her thoughts for when she could be alone. They entered the city just after sundown, making their way to Gerard's home. The old man was fast asleep, his labored breath wheezing through his lungs. Dante knelt by the bed and looked to Gerard's daughter, Gwen, for an update. He's been sleeping most of the day. That seems to be almost all he does now, sleep, she said. I'm glad you're here, Godfather. He'll be overjoyed to see you. Dante smiled at her and let her resume her duties. Gwen knew the bond shared between the two men, having been Dante's goddaughter all her life. When she was a child, Dante practically helped raise her. She loved him like a father and accepted him as part of the family. Gerard slept through the night, comfortably resting in his bed. When he awoke, Dante was sitting in a chair next to the bed. You came, the old man wheezed. Dante looked up from his contemplations and smiled at his old friend. Nothing could stop me from being here, he replied. Gerard smiled, bringing a happy gasp from Gwen, who was just coming to the room with Dante's breakfast. Oh, that's the first time he smiled since he fell ill, she sighed. Tears rimmed her eyes as she set the plate down on the bedside table next to Dante. How have you been, my friend? Gerard asked. He struggled to sit up, but Dante placed his hand gently on the withered old man's shoulder to stop him. Rest easy. I've been well. I found a new home in Bethlehem. That old Hamlet, Gerard coughed. The hell's there that's got you stuck? Oh, you wouldn't believe me, Dante smiled. Gerard's eyes brightened and he grinned mischievously. You found yourself a woman, he pointed. Dante nodded, feeling his face flush red. Oh, she is definitely a keeper. Gerard laughed, which turned into a coughing fit that worried everyone in the room. When he finally caught his breath, he patted Dante's hand. Good for you, old friend. It took you damn long enough. Hey, old man, I live longer, therefore I'm not on a time crunch to breed. The two friends laughed together, enjoying the company after so long. And that, my friends, was chapter 22 of The Demon. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a lovely day.